In today's session, we will be doing section formula, which is a part of the coordinate geometry. So what does the section formula mean? Section formula is nothing but to find the coordinates of a point which is dividing a given segment in a particular ratio. So just let's take an example. Let us say we have 2 points P and Q. The coordinates of P, assume it as x1, y1 and Q as x2, y2. And let us say we have a point A which is dividing this segment in the ratio m:n. Then the question arises is you have to find the coordinates of this point which is dividing this segment in the given ratio m:n. So first step is let us assume some coordinates for A. So let A, the coordinates of the point A be A comma B. Then what is the formula? How do you find out the coordinates of this point A? So the formula is m multiplied by the x coordinate of the second point. You don't have to take the same mx1, it will be mx2. That is, it goes diagonal. So mx2 plus, then we take this ratio n. Now diagonal to this is x1 divided by m plus n. That is the addition of the two parts of the ratio. Now this becomes the x coordinate. You know every point has two coordinates, the first one being the x and the second one being the y. As you can see here also, it is x coordinate, y coordinate, x coordinate, y coordinate. So what we have got here is the x coordinate of the point A. Now we look at the y coordinate. We go in the same discipline, m, diagonal to it, y2 plus n, diagonal to it y1 upon m plus n. So this is the formula using which we can find out the coordinates of this point A given the ratio m:n. So this is called the section formula. Now using this formula, we can even find out the coordinates of a midpoint, or in other words, the midpoint formula. Now, what does the name midpoint suggest? Midpoint means the exact center. That is, it is this point A is dividing PQ in the same ratio. That is 1:1. So M becomes 1 and N also becomes 1. Because A is the midpoint, this ratio is equal. So how does this formula change in case of midpoint? This formula will be used for any section. That is, any ratio m:n. But let us assume if A is the midpoint, then m becomes 1 and n becomes 1. Then what will be the coordinates of this point AB is wherever there is m and n in this formula, we substitute as 1. So 1 into x2 is x2, 1 into x1 is x1, and m plus n, which is nothing but 1 plus 1 is 2. Similarly here, m is 1 and n is 1. And what we get is y2 plus y1, because 1 into y2 will be y2, 1 into y1 will be y1, and m plus n is again 1 plus 1, 2. So here what we get is called the midpoint formula. Either you can keep it as it is, x2 plus x1 upon 2, y2 plus y1 upon 2, or to remember easily, you can even interchange it by making it x1 upon x2, x1 plus x2 upon 2 and y1 plus y2 upon 2. So you can see this will be the x coordinate of the midpoint and this will be the y coordinate of the midpoint. So these are the two formulas that we will be using to solve the sums based on section formula. So what is the section formula is mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n. And to get it into a midpoint form, if A is a midpoint, then wherever we have m and n, we substitute it as 1. So we get 1 into x2 is x2, 1 into x1 is x1, and 1 plus 1. M is 1, n is 1. So 1 plus 1 is upon 2. Similarly, we can get the y coordinate. So we rearrange this for the sake of ease in understanding or remembering the formula. x1 plus x2, that is x1 from here, x2 from here, that is x coordinate of P, Q and x coordinate of Q divided by 2. Then y coordinate of P plus y coordinate of 2 divided by 2. That is exactly half of the addition of the two x coordinates and two y coordinates will give us the midpoint. That is the coordinates of the midpoint. So let's go ahead and solve sums based on this. So let us say we have a sum like this, that is P is dividing the segment AB, that is where A is 2 minus 3 and B is 5, 6 in the ratio 2:1, and we have to find the coordinates of P. So let's make a very quick diagram so that it makes it very easy to understand. So let us say this is A, so this is 2 minus 3 and B is 5, 6, and there is a point P which is dividing it in the ratio m is to n. Now you can see the ratio is 2:1. That means m is 2 and n is 1. And we have to find the coordinates of this point P. So let us first assume it as a comma b. Now you know that the first point we assume as x1, y1 and the second one as x2, y2. So let's use our formula. What is our section formula? That is the coordinates of this point P will be equal to mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n. Let us substitute the values now. M is 2 into x2, which is 5, plus n, which is 1, into x1 upon 2, m plus n, that is 2 plus 1. Similarly, let's do for this. M is 2, y2 is 6, plus n is 1 into minus 3 upon m plus n, which is again 2 plus 1. Let's solve this out. 2 into 5 is 10, 1 into 2 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. 6 2s are 12 and 1 into minus 3 is minus 3 upon 3. So now what we get is 10 plus 2 is 12 upon 3 and 12 minus 3 is 9 upon 3. So this will become 4 and 3. So we got the coordinates of the point P as 4, 3. So this becomes our answer. So this is the point P which is dividing the segment AB in the ratio 2:1. Right? So you should always remember that this formula is used to find the coordinates of this point. Right? Not any other point, not A, not B, but for the point which is in the center. Let's take another question. That Q is dividing segment XY in the ratio 3:2. X is given, Q is given, we have to find Y. To make it again easy to understand what is given and what we are supposed to find out, let's draw a diagram. So segment XY is given and it says that this point Q divides it in the ratio 3:2. That means M is 3 and N is 2. Now what is given? X is given and Q is given and we are supposed to find out Y. That means x1 and y1 is given, but x2, y2 is not given. And we are supposed to find x2, y2. And the point which is dividing the segment xy, the coordinates of that point is given. So let's start. Now what will happen? In this formula, you always remember on the left hand side, we always have to take the point which is in the center. So here also we take q, 4, 7. What will be the formula? Again, we have the same formula, mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n. Let us substitute the values now. M is 3, x2 we do not know, so we leave it as it is. N is 2 and x1 is 1 upon m plus n, that is 3 plus 2. M is 3, n is 2. Again, m 3, y2 value we do not know. N is 2 and y1 is minus 2 upon m plus n, which is again 3 plus 2. So now here we have 4, 7, which is the point Q. Let's open this bracket. 3x2, 2 into 1 is 2 upon 3 plus 2 is 5. 3y2, 2 into minus 2 is minus 4 upon 5. And this will be equal to 4, 7. Now you can see this is the x coordinate and this is the y coordinate. But the x coordinate is already given in the question as 4. That means this 4 should be equal to the x coordinate that we have got, and this 7 should be equal to the y coordinate here. So that is what we do. Therefore, 4 is equal to 3x2 plus 2 upon 5. Now we can cross multiply and solve this. 5 4s are 20. So 20 is equal to 3x2 plus 2. Take the 2 this side, will become 18. 18 is equal to 3x2. So x2 is equal to 18 upon 3, which is nothing but 6. Now similarly, let's calculate for y2. So 7 is equal to 3y2 minus 4 upon 5. Cross multiply, 35 is equal to 3y2 minus 4. Take 4 this side, minus will become plus. So 35 plus 4 is 39. 39 is equal to 3y2. So y2 is equal to 39 upon 3, which is 13. So we got the coordinate of the y as 6, 13. So you see, using this section formula, not only we can find out the section coordinates of the point which is dividing the segment, but also if that point is given, we can even find out x1, y1 and x2, y2 using this formula, right? So let's do some more sums. Now let's say the ratio. We don't know what is the ratio in which the segment is getting divided. Now here the question says is find the ratio in which this point is dividing the line joining A and B, and we have to find out y also. Again, it becomes easier if we draw a diagram. So let us say A is given 2 and 1, B is given 7 and 6, and there is a point P which is given 5 and y. Now this point is dividing this segment AB in some particular ratio. That ratio is not given. That means the value of M and value of N is not given to us, and that is what we have to find out, right? So let's again start using the section formula. So we know P phi comma y will be equal to mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n. The formula remains the same. Whichever point you have to find out, it's only where we substitute the value matters or changes according to the question. Now m, we do not know the value of m, so we keep it as it is. X2 is 7. So here you can see this is x2 y2 and this is x1 y1. Plus n value we do not know. X1 is 2 upon m plus n. Similarly, m into y2 is 6 plus n into y1 is 1 upon m plus n. And this is going to be equal to phi comma y. So m into 7 is 7m, 2 into n is 2n upon m plus n. 6 into m is 6m, n into 1 is n upon m plus n. So now again, this is the x coordinate, this is the y coordinate. But the x coordinate is already given 5. So 5 should be equal to this first ratio and y should be equal to the second ratio. So let us solve this now. So we get 5 is equal to 7m plus 2n upon m plus n. Now we take m plus n this side. So we open the bracket, 5 into m is 5n, 5 into n is 5n is equal to 7m plus 2n. Now what we do is, we take all the m's on one side and n on one side. So I'm shifting m this side and I'm taking n this side. So you can see what is remaining here is 5n, and this plus 2n when it comes this side will become minus 2n. Here we already have 7m, and when I take 5m this side will become minus 5n. So 5n minus 2n is 3n and 7m minus 5m is 2n. Now if I want to find out the ratio m is to n, I take this n down, so it becomes m upon n, and this 2 down here. So I get the ratio m upon n is equal to 3:2. So we have found out the first part, that is the ratio in which the point is divided, right? You can check 2 into m is 2m, 3 into n is 3n. So you should know which number to take down. Now the second part was to find y. You can see here there is the second coordinate is y. There is no number here. We have to find this value, and this value we can find out using the second ratio. Now y is equal to 6m plus n upon m plus n. Now you know m value is 3, n value is 2. So we can substitute in this question to get the value of y. So 6 into 3 plus 2. Why plus 2? Because n is 2, m is 3. And m is 3 and n is 2. So 6 3s are 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. 3 plus 2 is 5. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. So we got the value of y also as 4. So you can see using the section formula, what all we can do is we can find the coordinates of this point, or if this is given, one of them is missing the endpoints, we can find out that also. Or if the ratio is not given and some of these points are given, using the section formula, we can even find out the ratio. So just what we have to do is the substitution where we do the values will change, but the formula will remain the same. Now let us say we have one more question. Find the coordinates of the midpoint. Now we have M and N as a segment, 4, 6 and 3, 2, and we are supposed to find the coordinates of the midpoint. So let us say we have a coordinate A, which is the midpoint of the segment MN. So we assume the coordinates as A and B. So according to the midpoint formula, we know the formula to be x1 upon x2 by 2 and y1 plus y2 upon 2. So let's just substitute the value. Now this my first point is x1 y1 and the second point is x2 y2. So x1 is 4 plus 3 upon 2 and 6 plus 2 upon 2. Why 6? Because it is y1, y2 because it is y2. So 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 upon 2, 6 plus 2 is 8 upon 2. So now this gets cancelled and what we get is 7 upon 2, 4. So this becomes the coordinates of the midpoint of the section MN. It is not necessary that every time you should get a perfect integer. You can even get a rational number as a coordinate. It is correct because even rational numbers can be plotted in the number line. So it is no big deal to have a rational number also as a coordinate. Let's do one more sum. Now the question says is find the ratio in which the x-axis divides the join of P and Q. In other words, what does this mean is that there are 2 points P and Q. Let us say 3 minus 5 given in the question and 4, 2. And now we have to find the ratio in which the x-axis divides. In other words, what does this question say is that this point which is dividing the segment PQ lies on the x-axis. So let us assume that point as A. Now this point A is on the x-axis. That is what the question says. The question says is the ratio in which the x-axis is dividing. Or in other words, this point is lying on the x-axis. Now as you know, on the x-axis, the y-coordinate is always 0. So we just have to assume one coordinate, that is A. So let us say this is the point A having coordinates A, 0, which is present on the x-axis. And this is dividing the segment PQ. And we have to find the ratio. That means we have to find the value of M and N, or in other words, M is to N. Again, we use the same section formula. Write down the formula. Formula remains the same. Formula does not change. And let us start substituting the value. M value we do not know. X2 is 4. So this is my X2 Y2 and this is my X1 Y1 plus N into X1, which is 3 upon M plus N. Again, M into Y2 plus N into Y1 upon M plus N. So now what we get here is 4M plus 3N upon M plus N. 2M minus 5N. How do I get minus 5? 1 into minus 5 is minus 5. So that is how I am writing it. And this should be equal to A, 0. Now the question says is I just have to find the ratio. Now you know A is going to be equal to the x coordinate and 0 is going to be equal to the y coordinate. Now in this question, I will not be using the x coordinate, that is A is equal to this, because there are already 2 variables here, M and N, and I will be adding a third variable A, and it will not be possible to solve this. But using 0 is equal to this, we will definitely be able to get the ratio. So let's use this. 0 is equal to 2M minus 5N upon M plus N. Let's cross multiply. So as you know, 0 into anything is 0. So we get 0 is equal to 2M minus 5N. Now I take 5N on the other side because I want to make it a ratio. So what I get is 5N is equal to 2M. 5N when it goes this side, it will become 0 plus 5N. So it is nothing but 5N. Now I want the ratio M is to N again. So I take the N down in the denominator here and 2 in the denominator this side. So I get the ratio as 5:2. So again, you can see the question was same. That is, the point is given, some part of it is given, and we are supposed to find the ratio. But the wordings of the question changes. Rather than directly giving the coordinates of this point A, it was mentioned that it is on the x-axis.